Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another Mad Meta Magic. Today, we will be playing a deck that is under 2% of the metagame, so I think it technically qualifies. Also, potentially is in the same vein as the very successful Hammer Time deck, and that is Bogles. So, for those of you that don't know, the whole game plan of Bogles is to find a creature with the word hexproof on it that's very, very cheap, and continually stack a whole bunch of very powerful auras and just keep putting pants on the creature until he can't be killed and kills your opponent. A little bit interesting, this list is one of the 5-0 lists, but it also runs Manamorphose in the main. I did make a bit of a swap in the side because I couldn't afford like $100 in sideboard cards. So I did my best approximation of what could be changed. So this is a little bit jankier of a Boggles list, so alright. Let's do this. Also, after the bonus video 4-1 with Hammer Time yesterday, I played another league on my own time because the deck was so quick, and I 4-1'd again. So we are very far ahead on our Moto economy. It's pretty sweet. Alright. Here we go, round one. We will reveal Luris. We have a core Spirit Dancer, but that is definitely the worst of the creatures to start with. We're gonna try it, though. Oh gosh. Inquisition is probably the best card versus Boggles when they're on the play and you're not. Because, oof, they just take whatever creature you have, and now it's like, great, what are you gonna do? You gotta try and draw another one. Alright, well, play Windswept Heath, pass the turn. This looks like the rack. When at Raven's Crime, we'll discard a Windswept Heath. Boggles does not match up amazingly well with 8 rack. Alright, I'm going to shock a Temple Garden here. And we are going to Manamorphose. I don't think I added green, but we'll play Boggle. Play an Umbra. Pass the turn. I'm kind of glad it worked out to be double green, but I don't think I clicked double green. Are you kidding me? Okay, yeah, game's over. So Liliana is one of the only actual edicts that gets run in competitive Modern. One of the best cards versus Boggles because of that, because Boggles goes really tall on one thing. So versus what our opponent's doing, I'm going to bring in Natural State because my opponent does have Ensnaring Bridges, and we're also going to bring in Leyline of Sanctity. I'm going to drop the Manamorphoses because we don't need the cantripping effect. We're not filtering off of like Blood Moon or something like that. I'm going to drop a Spirit Link, and what else? What else? I think I'm going to drop the Paths because they really only hit Mutavault. So we just need a Leyline of Sanctity hand here. Leyline of Sanctity will protect you from Liliana downtick, because the downtick targets a player and makes the player sacrifice, doesn't target a creature. It also protects you from the myriad of Inquisitions, Thoughtseizes, and other various things that target you as a player. So my opponent probably has, if they don't have a secondary color, and they're running only black, if we get a Leyline, we should beat them. Okay, I can work off of double Leyline, we'll keep. Dryad Arbor is kind of a risk, but this is the only time it's going to be good. We do need a second land. Okay. It does get pushed. My opponent does not have a lot of removal, because they just have like Fatal Pushes. They might have Smallpox and stuff like that. We're going to play Boggle. If we land Spirit Dancer and cast like a single aura, we're going to win this game, because we're just going to draw more cards than our opponent could ever hope to get rid of. But like, we're in the best position I think we can be right now, but we're not in an amazing position by any means. Alright, opponent plays a Shrieking Affliction. We untap and draw Griff's Boon. So go to combat, attack for 1. Okay, play Mana Confluence, and play Spirit Dancer. Pass the turn. It's unlikely that we draw a third land to save that and play it next turn with a Griff's Boon immediately to draw. I don't know how likely it is my opponent has removal that... Okay, well, they have removal, so... We untap. We draw Windswept Heath, so... Play Griff's Boon. We're just going to hold on to Windswept Heath. We don't want to make ourselves vulnerable to Shrieking Affliction just yet. Pass the turn. If we have to, we can natural state something, but my opponent is currently stuck on 2 mana. So we're praying for no smallpox. Oh man, this feels horrible to be on the receiving end of, let me tell you. So we're going to discard Natural State and sack the Boggle. We're also going to sack Mana Confluence. We do basically need 2 lands. My opponent has to sack as well. If they have multiple smallpoxen, we're probably utterly screwed. Opponent's Surgical's Boggle. Alright, that's pretty good. My opponent only has 1 land, 3 cards in hand. We no longer have any Boggles, so we're trying to draw Glade Cover Scout. Or Spirit Dancer. Do they have another? Oh my god. Hang on a sec. I think we just run the 3, right? Glade Cover, Boggle, and Spirit Dancer. So we were trying to draw exactly Glade Cover Scout. My opponent had multiple Surgical Extractions. Okay, pass the turn. So ridiculous. Okay, opponent plays the rack. It's fine. This is going to be a long game, so... I guess that's not entirely accurate. This is either going to be a very long game or a very short game. I'm electing to play out some lands now because we do need them for when they eventually, when we eventually draw something. Okay. Play Windswept Heath, pass the turn. I'm electing to take 1 damage off of the rack. If my opponent were to make me discard 1 time through another Smallpox or something like that, it could be very bad. Okay, now I'm going to start holding on to lands until I get a decent number of cards in hand. Opponent finds a Mutavault, so we need to draw Glade Cover Scout. Our only Dryad Arbor is in the grave, otherwise we could fetch Windswept Heath and put an Umbra on it. Natural State, not terrible. I'm going to wait to play that Temple Garden. We'll pass. Okay, opponent animates Mutavault. Yeah, this comes down to whether we draw a creature in the next 6 turns. And whether or not our opponent has another Smallpox or an Edict effect. There's a Rancor. Now I'm going to play the Temple Garden. Pass the turn. I am going to fetch with this Windswept Heath and get something tapped. I mean, get a Temple Garden tapped or a basic land, I guess. Okay. Opponent animates Mutavault. Goes to combat. Attacks for 2. Yeah, we cannot draw live to a path because I sighted them out. Glade Cover Scout. Alright. We're going to try and make this work. No reason to save auras or anything like that because we're not drawing Spirit Dancer. We're better off to just play them all out to get as fast of a clock as we possibly can. The only way this goes wrong is if my opponent can cast Smallpox. Alright, Delirium Skite. Okay, we can Natural State the rack. So this way we only take 6 damage and go to 1. So, but if we draw a Daybreak Coronet, we win, because we'll be able to lifelink our way out of our situation we find ourselves in right now. Ethereal Armor might actually be enough to kill our opponent, because it'd be +5, plus... No, nope, never mind. It would not. So our opponent empties their hand, we empty ours. They discard Ensnaring Bridge, Leyline of Sanctity, or we discard Leyline of Sanctity, they discard Push and Raven's Crime. So we take 6 and go to 1, and we draw a Windswept Heath. Yeah, well, this is the nightmare matchup. This is like when you're playing Burn, and your opponent plays a Martyr of Sands. You're just like, oh no, I left the Skull Cracks at home. Alright, well, hopefully we do a lot better in the upcoming games. Alright, round 2, here we go. We'll play first. Reveal Luris. Yeah, we can work with this. We'll keep both colors of mana, hexproof creatures, and auras that make them resilient. So, start Razorverge Thicket. Play Boggle. Pass the turn. Okay, opponent plays a Verdant Catacombs. We draw a Spider Umbra. So, play Hyena Umbra. Attack for 2. If my opponent is playing Jund or Death Shadow or anything like that, we are going to play a Glade Cover Scout before we stack this creature too tall, because we want to have something to sack to a Liliana if it looks like that's the kind of card our opponent would be playing in their deck. So if they're playing like Ponza right now, we're probably screwed because we wouldn't have mana anymore, but okay. So if they're smart, they'll take Glade Cover Scout. It looks like this is Jund. Could be Jund Death Shadow, but it looks like Jund. Death Shadow would have fetched and shocked round, like turn 1. That's the words. They would have fetched and shocked turn 1. Pretty much regardless. We'll play a Spider Umbra. If my opponent plays a Liliana, this game is over. Be a bit of bad luck to run into that twice in a row. We would like to draw a land. Okay, opponent shocks Overgrown Tomb. It's 2 Liliana decks right in a row. What are the odds? There goes our Boggle. Alright. Hey, a Boggle. Play Boggle. Pass the turn. Okay, opponent makes us discard. We're going to discard Path to Exile. Opponent discards Kolaghan's Command. They play Scavenging Ooze. We untap. Moto. Okay, draw Mana Confluence. Play Mana Confluence. Make this fly. They eat a Boggle out of the grave, sure. Ethereal Armor. Make it huge. Go to combat. Punch Lily. And now it's a game of can we kill our opponent before they play another Liliana. Kroxa makes us discard our Daybreak Coronet, which is quite horrible. Not the end of the world, but very annoying. We're kind of just hoping to draw any powerful aura, another Ethereal Armor, a Rancor. Daybreak Coronet would be the best. Manamorphose, okay. Let's go green-white, filter into green and white. Play a Mana Confluence, go to combat. Hit our opponent for 4. Take them to 10. I suppose we could put Lurrus into our hand. The problem is we'd have to pay 2 life to do that. And, alright, they Maelstrom Pulse Griff's Boon. They're going to hit us for 4. Sure. We go to 10. Come on, Daybreak Coronet. Windswept Teeth is not a Daybreak Coronet. Crack Windswept Teeth. Get a Forest. Pay a bunch of life. Griff's Boon. Hit our opponent to 4. I mean, we're dead to a red source. We're dead to a bolt. Because if they play a red source, they just play Kroxa and it deals 3 damage to us. That's a lightning bolt. We're always dead to lightning bolt. Well, the good news is I think Leyline of Sanctity will probably do more against our opponent this time around. But, like, they probably will still get us with things like Maelstrom Pulse and whatnot. They don't have Wraths, so we don't need Heroic Intervention. We're just going to bring in 4 Leylines, drop 3 Manamorphose, and drop probably a Path. Try like that. Alright, we'll play first. No creatures, double Leyline. Let's mulligan. Alright, we'll keep. We'll put back, I guess, the Rancor. We're gonna pray that this Leyline protects us long enough to get down our hand, which, I mean, I guess it only has to for 1 turn, right? Play Boggle. Pass. Opponent plays a Verdant Catacombs. We draw a Daybreak Coronet. So play Windswept Teeth. Crack it. Get a Temple Garden untapped. Play Glade Cover Scout. Umbra the Boggle. Attack our opponent for 2. Opponent fetches with Verdant Catacombs. Overgrown Tomb tapped. Hit our opponent for 2. They go to 17. Opponent plays a Tarmogoyf. We untap. We draw another Glade Cover Scout. So Daybreak Coronet has to go on a creature that is already enchanted. That's like its enchantment restriction. So we could put it on the Boggle and hit our opponent with 5 and a wall of keywords. First Strike, Lifelink, Reach, Vigilance, and Hexproof. It also has Totem Armor, which means that if it were to be destroyed, Instead, destroy the enchantment with totem armor. So, doesn't protect it from sacrifice, but alright, this is slightly a problem. Opponent Nate put Scout and not Elf. Wonder if that means they have Bloodbraid. Well, we get a Rancor. Rancor up the Slippery Boggle, so now it has Trample in addition to all of those other things I said. Attack for 7. Okay, opponent takes 7 and goes to 4. Pass the turn. Plague Engineer is pretty good against this deck too, because all of our creatures are 1/1s by default. So I don't think our opponent can get us here. They play a Fulminator Mage. They can nuke one of our lands, but like, we're going to first strike down most of their creatures and we have Trample. They would have to destroy our Leyline and then play Liliana, and that's the only way I think we could lose. Unless Innocent Blood got reprinted into Modern somehow. The Inquisition themselves, discarding Wrenn and 6. Not sure why. Oh, to increase Tarmogoyf's power, that's why. They put a Planeswalker into the grave, so go to combat. Attack for 7. They block with everything. Well, kill Tarmogoyf and Plague Engineer first. Plague Engineer having Death Touch, which could destroy our Spider Umbra. They deal 2 damage to Slippery Boggle. Play Glade Cover Scout for sacrifice protection. Sack bait. And our opponent concedes. Okay. Moving on to game 3, I think we stay exactly as we are. Just need another hand like that. Multiple creatures and a leyline and lands to play them. Then top deck auras. That's the plan. Tempting, but no. This might work, but our opponent's on the play, which means they're probably going to start hand hate if they've got it. I'm going to try this. I'm going to bank on my opponent having kept out their hand hate for just like anything else because of Leyline. Inquisition, they can take whatever they want. This was a mistake. Not only do we not have a Leyline to protect us from hand hate, we have the ability to top deck Leylines, and when you curve out at 2 and you start top decking 4 mana cost permanents and don't have Lurrus anymore, it's kind of a big deal. Alright, double Ethereal Armor is a very strong opening line. The problem is, if my opponent has a Liliana, we lose. Just straight up right now. We need to top deck an additional creature of some kind, and it has to be this turn. Okay, Windswept Teeth is technically a creature, so we're going to throw down Ethereal Armor, pass the turn. So in one of the weird interactions of all of the great design decisions of Future Sight, they printed a card that is both a land and a creature. It is a forest and a 1/1 Dryad. So to protect ourselves from Liliana of the Veil, we can use Windswept Teeth to fetch Dryad Arbor in response to a sacrifice trigger. Okay, so opponent plays Kroxa, Titan of Death's Hunger. And we discard Spirit Link. Spirit Link is important, gains us tons of life. It's like stacking Life Link, but it's triggered ability rather than a how would you call that? It's a triggered ability rather than like a state-based thing. Alright, we get a core Spirit Dancer. So play Razor Verge Thicket. Play Ethereal Armor, go to combat, attack for 5. Hit our opponent for 5, down to 12, and pass the turn. So opponent goes to combat, attacks for 4. No blocks, we'll take 4. Down to 16. Goyf number 2. Okay, we untap. We draw another Razor Verge Thicket. So play Razor Verge Thicket. Go to combat. Attack for 5. No blocks. Opponent goes to 7. Play Spirit Dancer. We might be throwing this just directly into a Fatal Push, but it is definitely better to have on the field in this situation. Okay, opponent does have a Terminate. It looks like they top decked that. Now their guys are big enough to potentially block our Boggle unless we top deck a aura of some kind. If we could top deck a Daybreak Coronet, that would be amazing. Okay, Ethereal Armor number 3 makes our Boggle huge. Our opponent is now on permanent chump blocking duty. also known as the Abyss. Kill a Tarmogoyf, pass the turn. So it's called the Abyss because there's a card in the early sets of Magic called Abyss, which is at the beginning of that target player's upkeep. They have to destroy a non-artifact. I think it's a non-artifact creature. All right, we fetch up Dryad Arbor, but it makes us sack Dryad Arbor. So that's basically why Dryad Arbor is in the deck. Play another Windswept Heath, go to combat, attack our opponent. We need a Griff's Boon or another creature to protect ourselves from Liliana activation again. If my opponent has a second Liliana here, that's really bad. Okay, opponent picks up Liliana. They concede. Well, we beat Jund. Jund is a tough matchup. It's not as tough as 8-Rack running Smallpox, which is impossible, but it's tough. Alright, play first. Reveal Lurrus. This is risky. I'm gonna keep. Spirit Dancer is very strong. And we'll start Windswept Heath. It'll give us an idea of what our opponent is doing before, and we can sort of plan out our hand accordingly. Flagstones of Trocaire. So my opponent is playing probably a land destruction deck, and I really, really hope it isn't Smallpox. So, play Razor Verge Thicket, fetch with Windswept Heath. We're going to go get a Temple... we're going to go get a Forest, actually. Play Spirit Dancer. These land destruction decks also tend to play things like... We only have 2 basics, and now our opponent knows. I should not have done that. Okay. Well, they're not any land destruction deck I know of. I've not seen a deck run Flagstones and Forests. Okay, this is probably a weird bounce land combo. Just trying to run through in my mind what this could possibly be, because identifying my opponent's deck is paramount. We're going to Manamorphose for green-white. Play Spirit Dancer. Play Spider Umbra. Always yes, always yield. Okay. If we untap for a single turn, we're going to draw most of our deck, because our deck is 1-mana auras. The problem is, I suspect my opponent has a way to ruin our day. So this appears to be some sort of green-white Titan deck. Okay, Wall of Blossoms. Yeah, this looks like the deck that like you just want to play a whole bunch of lands, and then like you're playing white for excellent white sideboard cards. Okay, start Rancor. We draw a Boggle. Manamorphose into green-white. Play Boggle. Play Ethereal Armor. And then play a Temple Garden tapped. Go to combat. Attack for a wall of keywords. 12. Okay, opponent blocks with Grazer, takes 9, goes to 11. Potentially that was a mistake, not putting the Ethereal Armor on the Boggle. If my opponent draws another path to exile, we could be in real trouble. The reason that it is desirable to do so is the core gets +2/+2 for every aura put on it. Yeah, okay. So this does give us back a Rancor, but we're going to need a lot more than that. I should have stuck the Ethereal Armor on the Boggle. I would have ended up attacking for slightly less, but it wouldn't have mattered as much. Okay, play Plains. Rancor. Daybreak Coronet. Okay. Attack for a lot with lifelink. Okay, opponent blocks with the wall, takes 2. We gain 6, pass the turn. I think they're just looking for, like, Primeval Titan. And by the looks of them tapping Castle Garenbrig, it looks like they found it. Yep, they found it. So this is... Oh, no, they're just casting 2 3-drop creatures? Because that's not scary at all. Yeah, Dryad is not the scary part. My opponent could still, like, scape shift into just mountains and kill us. Well, they wouldn't have to be mountains because their creatures turn all of their stuff into mountains. Go to combat. Attack for 6. Kind of sucks we did not draw an aura. Okay. Opponent quadra blocks. Oh, that actually kills our guy. That sucks. I probably shouldn't have attacked if that was the case. We get back Rancor. Play Dryad Arbor, so we can have a creature without Summoning Sickness next turn. Oh, I should have put Lurrus in my hand. I forgot I had Lurrus. Hopefully that doesn't matter too much. No blocks. Take 4. We untap. We draw another Rancor. So, Luris into our hand. Temple Garden untapped. Play Luris. Play Boggle. I could have done a lot more had I remembered to put Luris in my hand the turn before, but at least I remembered this time. Okay, opponent's tapping for something. Green-white, Ladmurray's Call. Probably Primeval Titan. Yup. Okay, we play a Cavern, which gives them just enough mana to cast Primeval Titan. So if they get, like, Valakuts, they can kill our non-hexproofed creatures, which is why we played the Boggle. We would have to... If they kill Luris and they kill the Dryad Arbor... Okay, Field of the Dead Valakut. If they get 2 zombies, we would have to top deck some very powerful auras to even stand a chance here. Like, I think we got to rip Daybreak Cord off the top right now. And we still may not be able to do it. Path for Primetime might also work, but... Okay, another Boggle. Play the Boggle. Play the Windswept Heath. Rancor. Rancor. So we're taking 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 20 damage next turn. We can block 2 of it. So we can't crack Windswept Heath. Okay. Pass the turn. Yeah, it's basically Daybreak Coronet or bust. Sorry, I call it Eladmurray's Call, but it's actually Eladamri's Call. Okay. Opponent fetches stuff with Prime Time. Oh, you know what? We're actually just dead. They have multiple Valakuts, and even if they didn't, they could crack Ghost Quarter targeting themselves and getting any basic, and it would kill us. Did not see that. Plus, they just picked up a Blast Zone, which... not ideal at all. So versus what our opponent's doing, I don't really think we have a sideboard. I think we just keep it the way it is. Alright, we'll play first. Reveal Luris. We're going to actually try and mulligan to a real Boggle. I guess that counts. We'll keep. Path might do something, so I'm actually inclined to keep Path. I think I put back a second Glade Cover. I don't think it's likely my opponent has an Edict. If my opponent's running something like Celestial Flare or the Blessed Alliance, we also can't beat them. Sacrifice effects are incredibly tough for the Boggles deck, and it's not like we could do Second Sunrise or Faith's Reward to just reanimate all of our permanents we lost, because that'd be too expensive. Opponent has an Elvish Reclaimer. Okay. Play Temple Garden. Filter into green-white. Okay. Griff's Boon, give it flying. Spider Umbra, give it a little bit of protection. Go to combat, hit them for 3. Opponent plays a Fabled Passage, which is a tap land here. Attack for 1. We untap. Draw Razor Verge Thicket, so we play it. Go to combat. Attack for 3. The one, like, card I don't have to make a Boggles deck better is Horizon Canopy, which is a green-white land you can pay 1 mana to sacrifice and draw a card. But the only, like, mode is lose life to gain mana. Like a pain land, there's no painless option. It's a very good card, and it's one of the cards that you need to fully power up Boggles. Okay, opponent plays a Field of the Dead. Okay, they pass. We untap. We draw Daybreak Coronet. So play Windswept Heath. White, white, Daybreak Coronet. Go to combat. Attack for 6. So they are dead in the air unless they can do something. Opponent is going to sack a land to tutor a land out of their deck and put it onto the battlefield tapped. Blast Zone. That is a problem. Well, it's a good thing we have Luris. Okay, opponent does have a Flagstones. They do not attack. Fetch with Windswept Teeth. We will get a Temple Garden tapped. Somewhat tempted to get a Dryad Arbor because they can't blow that up with Blast Zone, but go to combat. Opponent needs to sack Blast Zone, which will get rid of their Elvish Reclaimer, but they have to do that to stay alive. Unless they have a Fog, which I don't think is incredibly likely. Okay, they sack Flagstones, which I think gets them a land tapped. Oh, they could have Blessed Alliance here. They get a Sacred Foundry and a Radiant Fountain. Okay. So play Lurrus. Oh, I can't play fetch lands out of the grave. Okay. Play Mana Confluence. Pass the turn. Opponent plays a Field of the Dead. So if we path them, they get a zombie. We untap. We draw Rancor. Go to combat. I guess no, Rancor just gets destroyed by Blast Zone. Alright. Attack with Scout. I have Path for Lurrus. I was hoping to use it to replay the Scout. Oh, Totem Armor's still a thing. I did not know that, and neither did my opponent. So we end up winning because of that. Interesting. So, Engineered Explosives or Blast Zone on 1, destroying a creature with a Totem Armor on it as well, that's also costs 1. Destroys just the Totem Armor. I did not know that. We learned something today. Alright, reveal Lurrus again. No, we need a creature. So, mulligan. All creatures, no auras. Still gonna keep it. Put back Temple Garden. Opponent starts Garenbrig. We draw Spirit Dancer. Crack Windswept Teeth, get a Temple Garden, and play Glade Cover Scout. Pass the turn. Okay, opponent plays an Elvish Reclaimer. We untap. We draw Spirit Dancer number 3. So, crack Windswept Teeth, get another Temple Garden. Manamorphose into green-white. Play Spirit Dancer. Pass the turn. Okay, opponent plays or cracks their Windswept Teeth. They could have a Path here. Path would actually help us because of how many Spirit Dancers we have. They get a basic Plains, and they Path Spirit Dancer. So, get a Plains. Pass the turn. Okay, opponent plays a Flagstones of Trocaire, another Elvish Reclaimer, and passes the turn. We draw Razor Verge Thicket, which is not what we want. Play Temple Garden, untapped. Play Spirit Dancer. Play Spirit Dancer. Now, if only we could draw an aura. Opponent's going to sack Flagstones to Elvish Reclaimer. This lets them get 2 lands. Turns Elvish Reclaimer into a sort of ramp spell. I wonder if they're running Brought Back. That might be fun to do an Elvish Reclaimer Flagstones Brought Back kind of ramp. Brought Back being a white instant that says return 2 permanent cards from your graveyard to the battlefield that were put there this turn. It's a good ramp spell if you return 2 fetch lands to the battlefield. Okay, opponent is playing a 3-mana spell. Dryad of the Elysian Grove. And a Ghost Quarter. You're going to sack Flagstones to Elvish Reclaimer. So, here's how we win. We win by top-decking an aura and making one of our Spirit Dancers enormously massive enough to kill our opponent. It's not impossible, and with so many draws, it's actually somewhat likely. Okay, they can kill a Spirit Dancer. It's still possible, it's just not as likely. It's nowhere near as likely, I should say. Opponent attacks for 3. No blocks. We untap. We don't draw an aura. Okay, play Razor Verge Thicket. Play Glade Cover Scout. Pass the turn, but I think we're just dead. Odds are my opponent has a land in hand. Oh, they don't even need a land in hand. They can just sack 2 lands to Elvish Reclaimers and kill us with Valakut triggers. So even with 1 extra draw, even with one extra draw off of the Manamorphose, we didn't draw a single aura, and Luris would not have helped us here. Like at all. We needed our opponent to not have Valakut or be able to get Valakut, and then we needed to draw an aura. So opponent can sack a land, get any land, sack a land, get any land, and then Ghost Quarter themselves, and we die. Oh, they get another Valakut, so we're just turbo dead. Okay. Nothing wrong with doing the rub-ins. Okay. I have to take a break and do other things before I continue playing this, unfortunately. So I will see you guys in round 4. It'll just be a couple seconds for you.
Alright, so sorry about the sudden drop in audio quality and lack of a face cam, but due to some real-life circumstances, I am not recording at my primary location. I expect normal video probably tomorrow, and I'm sorry if this one went up late. But hopefully we can finish out this league and I can get this up in time, but we'll see. Alrighty, time for round 4. Alright, we'll play first. I'm not used to playing this with surround sound headphones. Moto sounds are actually quite distracting. So, yeah, I think we can keep this hand. This hand gets way better if we draw a land, like absurdly so. So, start Confluence and oops, play a Boggle. Actually, I have to uncover one of my ears because this is just way too surround soundy and bassy for me right now. Alright, so let's see what our opponent does. Yeah, so I'm recording off of my headset microphone because I don't have my boom mic with me. And I'm sitting on the floor, so if you hear any loud sniffing, it's because Porter is hanging out with me right now. Alright, so we're against the... I think this deck is called Crabvine. It's the like self-mill aggro deck. I'm kind of hesitant to attack here because my opponent is going to block because they want to mill themselves. Or not. Okay. That's really surprising to me, actually. Well, the good news is with our opponent having an Urborg, they can... Okay, opponent Tidehollow Sculler, they definitely take Daybreak Coronet here. They cannot risk us playing that at all, ever. Like, if we get a big life-linking dude and they don't play Smallpox, they are done. Yep. So Tidehollow Sculler takes Daybreak Coronet, opponent gets in for 1, we have no blockers. We untap and draw Rancor, which does make our life quite a bit simpler. So give ourselves Trample and attack. Oh, one moment. My silly puppy has figured out that he can stuff balls under a couch and requires me to figure out a way to deal with that. Alright. Cool. Now... No, that doesn't mean we're playing ball. Dogs are wonderful creatures. They are absolutely fantastic. Alright, my opponent has a Zilliport Cutthroat, meaning that they will have some kind of a... Oh, you know what? This might just be 2-drop zombies. The Zombie Aristocrat deck. And we draw Glade Cover Scout. I am going to pay 1 life to play another Hyena Umbra. We're going to attack for 5. Okay, buddy. Alright. So opponent goes to 8. Now, it kind of depends on whether or not my opponent has a sack outlet here. If they do, they can hit us for 4 down to 8, and they might be able to do enough damage to actually kill us in the next couple of turns. Okay? It's just a Tidehollow Sculler. They probably take Hyena Umbra because that's the way we stack up damage the quickest. Yep. Okay? But if we top deck an Ethereal Armor or something like that, they're toast. Okay, opponent attacks for 4, we go down to 8. We need to draw... I think Ethereal Armor to win. Path to Exile. This might also do it. We could path a Cutthroat in response to some sort of sack outlet. Okay, we hit our opponent to 3, and we're going to try and use this path to stay alive. Our opponent does only have 6 damage on board, so they would have to find 2 damage in reach. Cruel Celebrant or another creature Planeswalker you control dies. Okay, so it's another Cutthroat effect. Sure. What we do kind of depends on what our opponent does for an attack here. If they attack with just Tidehollow Sculler, I'm actually super tempted to path that, because if we draw a white land and we can play Daybreak Coronet, like, it's game over. We just win on the spot. I think I'm going to, because it does save 1 damage. And unless my opponent has a land they haven't played and a Thoughtseize, we're probably okay. Okay, so we get back Daybreak Coronet. We untap, we draw Ethereal Armor. I think this also does it. So let's see, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 toughness. Yeah, they die. Even if they block with everything. Their triggers go on the stack, and then they die to the damage. So, not entirely optimal, but we did get there. And we got there off of 1 land. So, there's some Boggle power for you guys. Look at all them triggers that would have killed us. Okay. Sorry if the audio quality once again is subpar. Just making sure I'm still recording. I'd be very upset if I wasn't. Alright, we're going to bring in Leyline of Sanctity. I'm going to drop Manamorphose. And probably, I think, a Spirit Dancer. If my opponent has removal that they want to keep in, they're going to use it on Spirit Dancer. Actually, you know what? I'm only going to bring in 3 Leyline and keep Spirit Dancer. We don't really have Grave Hate. Natural State does hit Sculler, but that's about it, as far as I know. Unless they have sideboard for us. So, 3 Leylines versus 4 Leylines. It is kind of okay. Usually, if you want that effect, you want all 4. But because of how this lines up with our, like, what we want to side out versus what we have the side in, I think 3 is fine. Also, we're mulliganing to 4 because we haven't found creatures and lands. Okay, going to 3. Alright, we'll keep. So we put back, we have to put back 4 cards. So back Griff's Boon, Daybreak Coronet, Ethereal Armor, and a land. Super suboptimal. This is like the minimum hand. If we'd mulligan to... If this had been for our hand of 4 instead of our hand of 3, we definitely would have kept Daybreak Coronet as well. Because that's how we win the game the hardest here. Fair creature matchups cannot stand up to massive life gain. Unless, of course, they have sack outlets and creatures that can block. Then it's kind of a problem. Another Ethereal Armor. Okay. So fetch with Windswept Teeth. We are going to get a Temple Garden untapped. This is quite painful, but at the same time, we do need both colors of mana. Okay, pass the turn. Our opponent plays a Marsh Flats. Attacks for 1. We do not block. We would never block this. I guess I didn't... Oh no, I brought in Leylines. I can't reveal Luris. Okay. Alright, we untap. We draw a Leyline, which we might not actually need. But we're going to play an Ethereal Armor. Okay, opponent fetches in response. We go to combat and get in for 2. Take our opponent to 17. Okay. Opponent untaps. Plays a Flagstones of Trocair. Leonin Relic Warder. Interesting. I did not realize that this exiled enchantments. I thought this only hit artifacts. So, I learned something today. They sack it in response to the trigger to permanently exile the Ethereal Armor. Okay. They play a Stitcher Supplier and mill themselves. They probably just sack Stitcher Supplier now and get in for 3. Also, sorry if I sound like I have a frog in my throat. My voice has been recovering after a particular day of overuse. We take 2, go to 14. We draw Daybreak Coronet, which is quite excellent if we draw another white source. It is sort of a problem because as long as our opponent can keep playing creatures, they can just sack before damage is dealt. Like they can block, sack before damage is dealt, and if we don't have trample, we won't gain life. So ideally, we would draw a white source and then a Rancor. Like, if we do that, we win this game. Unless our opponent has, like, an edict of some kind, like Smallpox or Liliana. Okay, opponent flashes back Lingering Souls. Plays another Flagstone, sacks Flagstones, and searches up some kind of plains. Gets a Godless Shrine tapped. Ooh. So this is the white reanimate spell with Convoke. Yeah, Return to the Ranks. I couldn't remember the name. Alright, we're just going to concede. We can't beat that on 1 land with 2 cards in hand, and one of them being dead. So, as long as we don't mulligan to 0, we should be fine. Just need creature, land. Leyline would be nice, but is not required. The primary way that our opponent can actually interact with us, besides Leon and Relic Warder, is through Leyline. So, or is through a means that Leyline disrupts. Okay, mulligan. I do not like keeping Spirit Dancers and no auras, but I honestly think I'm going to have to. So, we mulligan to 6 after playing first. Our opponent is deciding whether or not to keep 7. Okay, they keep 7. I guess we have to keep this. I'm going to put back... since our opponent might have Path, I actually think I'm going to put back a Plains. We'll start Forest Boggle. Pass the turn. A 1-mana aura would be amazing off the top. Because then we could play Spirit Dancer on turn 2, Spirit Dancer on turn 3, and a 1-mana aura. Okay, opponent starts Doom Traveler. I might have just F6 through my own turn. Okay, sorry. I'm sitting on the floor and the keyboard's at an awkward angle. Play Spirit Dancer, pass the turn. Glade cover is okay, but we really, really would like a 1-mana aura. Our opponent does have Smallpox. Alright, well, I kind of suspected from the Urborg Flagstones that they did. This is a really strong, like probably the strongest card versus Bogles. I think we have two options. We can sack the Boggle or the Spirit Dancer, and we can discard Glade Cover or the Spirit Dancer. I think keeping both Spirit Dancers is the correct play, because if we draw a 1-mana aura, we get right back in this game. So I'm going to discard Glade Cover. I don't think my opponent would have kept in targeted removal, so I think this is fine. Sack the Boggle. Opponent sacks Flagstones, and we'll sack a forest. His opponent gets a Godless Shrine tapped. We untap. We draw a Temple Garden, so shock Temple Garden. I could have just played Windswept Teeth and tapped it for black because of Urborg, but I didn't think about it. Alright, pass the turn. We just need to draw an aura. Any aura but Daybreak Coronet at this point, like, dramatically improves our chances of winning. Okay, we take one in the air. Okay, Leyline is not what I had hoped for, but pass the turn. Yeah, this is whenever you cast an aura, it doesn't interact with regular enchantments. Okay, opponent flashes back Lingering Souls. We get hit for 3. Come on, any aura. Opponent has 5. It's a 2-turn clock either way, so I'm going to fetch to thin the deck here. We untap, we draw Rancor. Perfect. Play Rancor. Always yes, always yield. We get a Spirit Link. I will draw an additional card, thank you. Okay, play a Spirit Link. Really hope my opponent doesn't have targeted removal. If they do, this game is probably over. Ethereal Armor and Grifspoon. Okay, play Mana Confluence. Ethereal Armor. Voltron Assemble. Ethereal Armor and Daybreak Coronet. Well, we don't have mana for Daybreak Coronet now. But play another Ethereal Armor. And this is why Spirit Dancer is played in this deck even without Hexproof. Look at that. We just drew like 12 cards and played half of them. I guess it's 8 cards and we played 4, but still. Alright, I will see you guys in round 5. Alright, 2 wins, 2 losses. Let's see if we can win our entry back, shall we? Let me just check and make sure this volume is good. Alright. Alrighty, here we go. Go ahead and reveal Lurrus. One thing that is nice is Lurrus is not necessarily any particular deck. This hand would be amazing if it had a Boggle in it, so we're going to mulligan. I can make this work. We're going to drop 1 Spirit Link, even though redundant copies are good. We want all of the other auras that we have. As long as my opponent does not start Hand Hate, I think we're fine. Okay, it is Tron. Okay, we will start Razor Verge Thicket, play Slippery Boggle, pass the turn. I'm not sure how Boggles matches up with Tron. Blast Zone does make it more difficult, but it does not mean they have an early Tron. Or that means they do not have an early Tron, my bad. Okay, Ethereal Armor does help quite a bit. So crack Windswept Teeth. We'll get a Temple Garden. Go ahead and play Hyena Umbra and Ethereal Armor. Ethereal Armor is a +2/+2 boost versus Spider Umbra or Grifspoon, which would only be 1 more power. Next turn we can put down 2 auras, which will greatly increase our potency. Alright, it looks like our opponent is on Eldrazi Tron, not the stereotypical green Tron, which we should be relatively fine against. Even if they play Thought-Knot Seer here, they're going to take Grifspoon. Chalice on 1. Okay, that does make my life more difficult. Core Spirit Dancer. Spirit Dancer is quite nice here. Even if we can't resolve our auras, they do now draw cards. Grifspoon we can get onto the battlefield if we get up to 4 mana. By using its ability to return it from the grave. Okay, it looks like a Thought-Knot Seer. Once again, even though we only have cards that we can't cast, our opponent should take Grifspoon here. They do. Okay, we untap. We draw Temple Garden, which is quite nice. So throw down a Spider Umbra. It gets countered, but we get to draw a card. Daybreak Coronet. Amazing. So play Daybreak Coronet. Draw a card. We get a Glade Cover. Go to combat, and attack for 8. Opponent takes 8 and goes to 4. Now my opponent can crack Blast Zone, which will get rid of all of our 1 mana cost permanents. Daybreak Coronet will fall off, but the Boggle will survive. Unfortunately, I don't think, since we're not playing things like Spirit Mantle, Spirit Link here is actually going to be quite bad. Like, What I'm saying is, like, we can't draw into more. I think the only 2-mana aura this list runs is Daybreak Coronet. Hang on. Actually, I'm going to check. Yeah, we only run Daybreak Coronet. So we are shut off extra hard because of Chalice. Alright, well, go to combat. Attack for 8. My opponent should block and then activate Blast Zone. I guess it doesn't matter the order. We need to draw into a Griff Spoon that we can throw into the grave, which actually means I should have played Rancor that turn, but that's okay. It shouldn't make that much of a difference. We just need to get a Griff Spoon into the grave, and then we can fly over top and win. So we can do that before our opponent kills us. That would be fantastic. Luris can actually let us cast Daybreak Coronet from the grave. Okay, opponent plays Karn, Great Creator. They wish... I think they should get Ensnaring Bridge here, because we have no way to answer Ensnaring Bridge in the main deck. Sky Sovereign. Okay. Don't know that I agree with that one. Okay, so cast an aura. Always yes, always yes, always yield. Okay, now I don't have to click, I can just draw. Land, Spider Umbra. Okay, gets countered, we draw. Path, Spider Umbra. Alright, Spider Umbra. Gets countered, we draw. Okay, we can play Dryad Arbor and pass. Yeah. So let's see if that tempts our opponent to kill the land rather than the Spirit Dancer. Nope. Opponent still identifies the correct target. So down goes the Spirit Dancer. Opponent wishing for another artifact. We get Walking Ballista this time. Alright, so this is going to be our last chance. So start Windswept Heath, crack Windswept Heath, get a Temple Garden, untapped. White-green, Manamorphose, into white-green. Alright, we're going to use that mana to pick up Luris. I can cast Luris, but next turn, if I wait to play him, I can play Core Spirit Dancer out of the grave, which could be relevant. My opponent is going to animate Sky Sovereign and attack to kill Spirit Dancer and probably Walking Ballista down Dryad Arbor. It is incredibly unlikely we win from this position, though still technically possible, so I'm going to try and play it out. Okay, opponent has another Thought Knots here, which they will use to take Luris. In that case, yeah, there's no way we can win, I don't think. Simply because they can remove all of our creatures. I just realized that your opponents can animate your vehicles, or animate their vehicles with Karn, and if they have on attacks triggers, they can use that. I didn't actually know that. I always thought Sky Sovereign was kind of bad because you needed a creature, but I never actually made the connection that it synergizes amazingly well with their Karn's +1. Okay. Yeah. That's game. Alright, well, hopefully we can do a little bit better in game 2. If we have a good proactive hand, I don't think our opponent can do anything about it. So, Natural State in. We can bring in Damping Sphere. I'm not sure if we need to, because our opponent isn't relying on getting Tron, but it does technically shut off Temple and might be better than a Manamorphose. Our worst spell, honestly, might be Path. Path is nice, but we should be beating our opponent anyway, you know? I think I'm going to cut Spirit Link, 1 Path, and a Spider Umbra. I do want some number of paths, but I don't think it's actually going to be that good, especially if my opponent just keeps a hand with Chalice on one. It really sucks that our Bogles list has Natural State in it. The regular Bogles list runs Force of Vigor, but that is very expensive online. Alright, Spirit Dancers and Damping Spheres might be too slow, but we're going to try. We'll start Temple Garden tapped, pass the turn. Opponent starts Tron Land Map. We'll draw Spirit Link. Yeah, we're going to play Spirit Dancer. I want to see if my opponent plays another Tron land or if they play a Temple here. Okay, so now Damping Sphere is kind of high priority. We draw Glade Cover, so we'll go ahead and suit up Spirit Dancer. Spirit Link does increase Core Spirit Dancer's power due to its secondary effect. Go to combat, we'll attack for 2. Trying to see if I can get my opponent to crack map or use a Dismember or something. Okay, we'll go ahead and play Damping Sphere. Opponent cracks map just to get a land in hand. They get Blast Zone. Okay. Opponent plays a Blast Zone. They are 1 land off of activating it. For 2, that is. So, play Razor Brooch Thicket tapped. We'll go to combat and attack for 2. I have a feeling that my opponent, if they crack it, is going to crack it on 2 and not 1. So I'm going to play a Glade Cover Scout here and force them to make the decision of whether or not they need to be destroying the 2-drops or the 1-drop. Okay. We're hiding our Spirit Dancers in hand. Multiple Spirit Dancers into a 1-mana aura after my opponent sacks a land would be amazing. The only way that this is kind of bad is if they actually have Tron. Okay, they are smart enough to crack it on our turn. Play another Razor Bridge Thicket, go to combat. Attack for 3. Opponent should activate now. Okay. This does prevent us from playing our Spirit Dancers, but that should be okay as long as my opponent doesn't follow up with a Chalice on 2 or a Chalice on 1. They crack Blast Zone, they kill Spirit Dancer and Damping Sphere. They now have Tron. They play a Maze Mind Tome, and they draw a card. Okay. Let's see what they play now. Map. Crack map. Okay. There's another Blast Zone, okay? But they don't play it. And another map. Alright, well, my opponent has a ton of mana, but that was not an amazing follow-up. Okay, so Spirit Dancer, Mana Confluence, Rancor, always yes, always yield. Okay. Then we will play another Rancor. It's the same power boost right now. Hit them for 5. I'm playing Rancors because if my opponent Blast Zones them, they should go back to my hand, which will let me get a lot more draws. So my opponent is either going to crack map or activate Maze Mind Tome first. Smasher. Blast Zone. Okay. We untap, we draw another natural state. So play Ethereal Armor, draw some lands. Okay. Go to combat, attack for 5. This isn't lethal, and if my opponent wanted to get greedy, they could wait to crack Blast Zone. Okay, they're going to trade. Get some Rancors back to our hand. We'll go to our second main. Shock Temple Garden. Rancor. I'm going to try and sculpt my hand to be better in the average case. And if my opponent blows up all 1-drops and blows up our Rancors, that's fine, because we're going to get them back. Okay, multiple Ethereal Armors is pretty strong. So we're going to Natural State Maze Mind Tome to get down to 7 cards in hand. Opponent's going to draw an additional card. Okay. Now I'm going to play a Boggle. And the reasoning here is if my opponent wants to try and tick up Blast Zone to 2 and kill our Spirit Dancers, that's fine. But we're going to also have a threat on 1 to force that decision. If they just blow up Blast Zone on 1, they'll take out the auras in the Boggle, but then we can make a Spirit Dancer that should be lethal. If they take it up to 2 and blow up our Spirit Dancers, we can stack enough enchantments on the Boggle that it will be lethal. We're keeping a natural state in hand just in case our opponent wishes for Ensnaring Bridge. Okay, opponent ticks Blast Zone up to 2. They have identified that the Spirit Dancers are a bigger threat. They crack Blast Zone. We get back our Rancors. 6 mana. Opponent plays another Reality Smasher and passes. Okay, I think we got him. So untap and let the ritual attachment of pants commence. Rancor, Spider Umbra, Ethereal Armor. Okay, attack for 16. Opponent concedes. Cool. Now we just have to do that again. Once again, Chalice on 1 is basically unbeatable because of our particular variation. If we had a Spirit Mantle or, some other 2-mana aura that we could attach, we wouldn't have that problem. And if we had Force of Vigor in the sideboard, it also wouldn't be a problem. So keep in mind that if you're building Bogles, you should definitely follow one of those 2 lines, I think. Okay, opponent starts Urza's Tower into an Expedition map. We untap. We draw Ethereal Armor. Okay, so now we have a decision to make. We can either attack map, or we can play Glade Cover Scout. In the general case, I think Glade Cover Scout is better. Hitting map is kind of tempting, because if my opponent does not have a lot of lands in hand, it could actually disrupt them enough that they can't play much of anything. But if they have a Chalice, they can play a Chalice. I think we're going to try and be proactive here first. Okay, pass the turn. Okay, opponent has another Tron land. So we can no longer take out map, though we may not need to. Spirit Dancer. Spirit Dancer is very tempting as well. We can either play Hyena Umbra Ethereal Armor, or we can play Spirit Dancer. Playing Hyena Umbra Ethereal Armor does make our creature large. And if my opponent gets a Blast Zone off of this map, I think getting some stats on the board is more important. So, start Umbra, play Ethereal Armor. I could have held up Natural State and kept the Ethereal Armor to draw off of Spirit Dancer, but at the same time, okay, they crack map. This matchup is a lot more cerebral than I thought it would be. Okay, so my opponent assembles Tron. 5 mana. Opponent plays a Thought-Knot Seer, floating 1. Probably takes Daybreak Coronet. Nope, they take Spirit Dancer. They play an Expedition map. They will use this to tutor up Blast Zone, which really sucks because our best play here is to play Daybreak Coronet. So we make a really big dude with First Strike, but our opponent just blocks, or they don't even have to block. They can just tutor up Blast Zone. Yep, opponent doesn't block. They take 8, we gain 8. Okay, opponent tutors up Blast Zone. Chalice on 1. Okay, I think that'll do it. Between that and Blast Zone activation. Yeah, we're going to wait on cracking this Windswept Heath. We can get a Dryad Arbor out of our deck, but we can't cast any auras that'll stick to it. So, attack with the 8/8. Okay, yeah. So the only way this goes right is if we can get a Griff Spoon into the grave and attach it to a Dryad Arbor, and then Daybreak Coronet the Dryad Arbor. But if my opponent just wishes for something like a Trinisphere here, that's going to be game, because we will never ever be able to cast everything we need to. Liquid Metal Coating. Okay, opponent attacks for 4. We untap. Okay, they shut off Temple Garden. We draw a Temple Garden. We're not going to pay. Pass the turn. Oh, wait, no. Oh, shoot. I should have shocked that. That's fine. I was going to say we need to put Luris in our hand this turn, but that would require cracking both of our Windswept Heaths. So slight mistake there, but we are already in a position that we're probably not winning anyway. Okay. Opponent destroys our Temple Garden, plays a Reality Smasher, and attacks us for 9. So we take 9, we go to 13, crack Windswept Heath, get a Temple Garden tapped, crack Windswept Heath, get a Dryad Arbor, untap, we draw. Damping Sphere. That doesn't really do anything at this point. So put Luris in our hand, go to combat, attack our opponent for 1. Okay. Opponent plays another Smasher, and that's game. Alright, we get half our entry back. I'm going to talk really quick about the deck, and then get this video scheduled to upload. So, I definitely think that we do have some budget sideboard here. Natural State is nowhere near as good as Force of Vigor, simply because Force of Vigor can get us through a Chalice of the Void, and Natural State cannot. You could run things like Krosan Grip, or you could run just even straight up Naturalize, but I think that you definitely should run Force of Vigor if you have access to it. The Manamorphose I think was interesting. I think it's useful against things that run Blood Moon, decks that run Blood Moon. It can get you through that. I do want maybe another Forest in the sideboard. I like having 3 basics. I think this is a little overboard on non-basic lands. And I wouldn't mind cutting 1 or 2 of the 1-mana auras and running a Spirit Mantle or another good 2-mana aura, or having the option to at the very least, because I think that we are pretty soft to Chalice of the Void. Other than that, I think this deck is just fine, and I think Luris is a fantastic addition to Bogles. So anyway, let me know what you guys think, and I'll respond to you in the comments. If you like this video and you want to see more Bogles, leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel if you're so inclined, and remember you can catch me streaming Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern. I don't know about tomorrow. There may not be a stream, but if not, there might be one later in the week. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!